Chapter 163. What is going on? The other two teammates in charge of directing the small giant lizards away were a little muddle-headed at that instant. They watched for themselves enchanting use a hidden blade to attract all the giant lizards' attention and drag them around the giant rock canyon. However, enchanting pulled an extremely safe distance away from those speedy giant lizards, and they could not reach her no matter what. In a moment, everyone, who was on tenterhooks, was a little dumbfounded. The nervousness on Gu Yankee's face had not faded, and he blanked out a little while watching the energetic enchanting. Was this a situation that a new disciple on her first mission should have? Gu Yanxio was rather bewildered. Yi Qingtang's experience technique was indeed unexpected to Gu Yanxio. Even if Gu Yanxio were to direct those small giant lizards away, he would only at best be able to achieve what Yi Qingtang did. The number of giant lizards was clearly beyond their estimation, but Yi Qingtang actually attracted all of them away just by herself. For the few giant lizards that wanted to head back, Yi Qingtang immediately used her hidden blade to cut off their retreat and regain their attention. While Gu Yanxio was stunned, Yi Qingtang suddenly looked up and met with Gu Yankee's eyes. She frowned slightly and lifted her chin as though she was signaling Gu Yanxio to take over. Gu Yanxio was a seasoned team leader as well. He returned to his senses quickly and immediately gave orders to attack to his other partners when he saw that there were only 2 to 3 small giant lizards beside the level 6 giant lizard. This was not the time to find out what level Yi Qingtang could take things to. They needed to lock their target and slay it as soon as possible. As Gu Yankee's signal was given, the 2 disciples that were originally responsible for attracting the small giant lizards away were able to take part in the battle since Yi Qingtang independently directed all of them away. All the hidden team members rushed up immediately towards the level 6 giant lizard that was pacing up and down the cave's entrance. On this side, Yi Qingtang methodically led the dozens of small giant lizards away from the main battle site bit by bit. She was exceptionally calm, and other than focusing on the movement of the army of giant lizards, she still could occasionally watch the rest who were already fighting the level 6 giant lizard. Although the giant lizards lived in groups, their spiritual intellect was very low, and they were extremely easy to be lured. As long as they were constantly attacked, their attention would completely be focused on the attacker and would simply not realize that they had fallen into a trap. Yi Qingtang went on quite a few missions in her previous life and had once battled against giant lizards. However, the target of Yi Qingtang's team was a level 7 giant lizard at that time, and there were as many as 50 people in the team. Just the number of small giant lizards surrounding that level 7 giant lizard reached thousands. In her previous life, Yi Qingtang's cultivation progressed slowly, and she was unable to fight the level 7 giant lizard heads-on. To gain the team leader's acknowledgement and gain more chances to participate in team missions, she could only master the skills to attract monsters away. Adding on the experience of fleeing for her life, this little matter was nothing to her. She was very clear of how far the giant lizard's spewed poison would reach. As long as she remained outside this range, walking these giant lizards was the same as walking a group of ducks. Don't mention the dozens of giant lizards behind her. Even 2 times of this number would not be of any difficulty to her. However, just as Yi Qingtang brought these giant lizards away from the main battle site, she faintly saw shadows of a group of people flashing across the rock wall above her. There was actually another team in the giant rock canyon? Yi Qingtang frowned, but she quickly noticed that those people were headed towards the main battle site. Uneasiness crept within her. Chapter 164. At another side of the giant rock canyon, Du Chang led a group of senior and junior brothers to chase after their target. With the surging heat wave, their backs were soaked with sweat from the heat. Senior brother Du, where did that Wu Qi go? I still saw him running towards here just now. Why is there no trace of him now? A young man frowned as he was still unable to see their target after looking around for some time. The leader, Du Chang, who looked about 24 to 25, frowned deeply. The group of them followed Wu Qi to this place, but in the blink of an eye, they suddenly lost track of him. At that instant, Du Chang's mood could be said to be extremely foul. The target of our mission this time is Wu Qi. Wu Qi is a villain on the assassination roll, and the rewards are plentiful. We followed him for 3 days and 3 nights. If we lose track of him now, we might have attempted this mission for nothing. No way. We must find Wu Qi, Du Chong said coldly. But there are many rocks in this giant rock canyon, and its topography is extremely complicated. It is very likely that Wu Qi discovered us. That's why he suddenly increased his speed. If he planned to hide, it would not be easy to find him, said another disciple helplessly. They were the outer sect disciples of Qinglin's sect. They left the sect this time because they obtained information of one of the people on the assassination roll. Thus, they prepared for days and chased after him. But if they lost sight of Wu Qi at this time, the time spent on this mission would all be a waste. Everyone wore an ugly expression at that moment. The loss from a failed mission could not be estimated. But just as they were unwilling to give up, a disciple suddenly heard a violent battle sound. Senior brother Du, look. The disciple hurriedly pointed towards the source of the sound. Du Chong looked up, and elation emerged in his eyes. Not far away, a group of youths was in a fierce battle with an enormous giant lizard. This scene completely revived Du Chong. Looking from their clothes, it should be Xianling sect disciples. Du Chong glanced at the youths that were battling the giant lizard. Xianling sect? Senior brother Du, it is already a huge loss to lose Wu Qi. The people from Xianling sect seem to have been fighting with the giant lizard for a long time, and the battle should end sometime soon. Senior brother Du, do you think we can? That disciple hinted at Du Chong. Du Chong sneered. That giant lizard is a level 6 demonic beast. Judging from the circumstances, they should be able to kill it. However, we lost the reward for Wu Qi, and if we could kill a level 6 giant lizard, perhaps we could make up a little of the loss. Du Chong's words instantly excited the other disciples, and the group of them rushed towards the battle site not far away from them. At the battle site, Gu Yanqiu and the rest were focused on killing the giant lizard before them. They had relatively good teamwork, and with the effort of 9 people, they were equally matched with the giant lizard. With Gu Yanqiu's experience, he believed that the giant lizard would be killed in no time. Junior brother Qin, go attract the giant lizard's attraction. I will sneak and attack, Gu Yanqiu told the nimble Qin Huan in an interval. Qin Huan understood Gu Yanqiu's meaning and immediately jumped into the sight of the giant lizard. The giant lizard sustained many injuries during the battle, and it was already bursting with anger. Suddenly seeing his attacker jumping in front of him, he let out a growl and launched at him with its bloody mouth wide open. Chapter 165. Just when the giant lizard's attention was attracted away, Gu Yanqiu exchanged a look with Meng Shang and immediately jumped onto the giant lizard's back, piercing the sword in his hands directly into its neck. But just as Gu Yanqiu's sword landed, a cold light suddenly passed by his shoulder. Gu Yanqiu avoided it instinctively, and that cold light punctured right at the wound on the giant lizard's neck. Once the cold light sunk in, Gu Yanqiu then realized that it was an arrow. The wound was on the giant lizard's neck, the most fragile position. Since it was protected by a thick armor, Gu Yanqiu and the rest finally found an opportunity with much difficulty to rip this wound open and were just waiting for this final fatal blow. However, that arrow was a step faster than Gu Yanqiu, and it sunk into the giant lizard's flesh. With a sudden grunt from the giant lizard, large amounts of blood seeped out from the corner of its mouth. Qin Huan, who was diverting the giant lizard's attention, was distracted by that cold light as well, and his footsteps slowed down a little. But just before the giant lizard fell down, it spat out a mouthful of poison violently, which coincidentally splattered on the distracted Qin Huan. The giant lizard fell on the ground with a loud howl, but what followed was Qin Huan's painful cry. The giant lizard's poison was extremely corrosive, and that last mouthful of poison happened to be spat on Qin Huan's chest. In just a moment, the clothes before Qin Huan's chest were completely corroded away. Everyone was taken aback for a moment, and Gu Yanqiu returned to his senses immediately, dashing to Qin Huan's side. Meng Shang was stunned as he looked at the breathless giant lizard on the ground. A level 6 giant lizard is just like that, only. A rather sarcastic laugh sounded. The moment that voice sounded, Meng Shang and other Xianling sect disciples looked towards the voice at once. What appeared before them were 10 young men in green who were walking towards them haughtily, and in the leader's hands was an exquisite silver bow. The arrow which killed the level 6 giant lizard was shot from the silver bow in that man's hands. Meng Sheng's face darkened instantly. All of them recognized these people's uniforms. It was Qinglin's sect's uniform. Qinglin's sect and Xinling's sect were both sects and specialized in swordplay. Despite years of competition, they still could not conclude a winner, and it could be said that they had been on bad terms for a long time. If the disciples from these two sects met outside on usual days, they would most likely end up in a fight. Meng Sheng and the rest did not expect that they would encounter people from Qinglin's sect here, and what was worse was the fact that the current situation was very unfavorable to them. They had already depleted all their energy from the struggle with the level 6 giant lizard just now, and it would be dangerous if they were to fight with Qinglin's sect's people now. Sixth junior brother, remove the giant lizard's poison gall, said the leader, Du Chong, with a smile as they swept a belittling glance across the Xinling sect disciples. The moment Du Chong's words were said, Xinling sect's disciples darkened their faces immediately. The purpose of hunting the giant lizard was to obtain the poison gall in its body. If the poisonous gallbladder was snatched away by the Qinglin sect people, their mission this time would really be wasted. This giant lizard is our prey. Who gave you the permission to touch it? Meng Sheng reproached coldly with a long face. Du Chong raised his brows and looked at the tired expressions of the Xinling sect disciples disdainfully. Your prey? This giant lizard was clearly killed with my one arrow just now. How did it become your prey? Chapter 166. Meng Sheng was so angry over Du Chong's words that his face paled. The level 6 giant lizard had such a thick, rough skin. How could one arrow kill it? If not for their long fight which exposed the giant lizard's weakness, Du Chong would not even be able to hurt the giant lizard even if he shot all the arrows he had on hand. These Qinglin sect people were clearly here to fish in troubled waters. If it were any other day, Meng Sheng and the rest would have long gone up to fight it out with this group of bastards. But now, Meng Sheng looked at his teammates from the corner of his eyes. Apart from Yi Qingtang, who was temporarily not present since she was in charge of directing the monsters away, others were already exhausted from the battle against the level 6 giant lizard, and quite a few of them even sustained injuries. Amongst them, Gu Yanxiu, Qin Huan, and he were the best members of the team. However, Gu Yanxiu was the main attacker and had depleted the most energy, while Qin Huan had poison spat on him by the giant lizard because of the Qinglin sect bastard's sudden sneak attack, and no one knew whether he would be able to survive. Under such circumstance, how could they fight against the people from Qinglin's sect, who were fully armored? Everyone from Xinling's sect could clearly tell the Qinglin sect people's plan. The other party specially chose this time to freeload because they saw that Xinling's sect's condition was extremely bad. Why are you still standing here? Go remove the poison gall, Du Chong ordered arrogantly. He was certain that the other party would definitely not revolt. Otherwise, given Xinling sect's current condition, they would likely be beaten up to death by them, much less be able to protect the poison gall. Upon hearing the order, the Qinglin sect disciple immediately went forward and used a dagger to remove the poison gall right before the 9 people from Xinling sect. A few of the short-tempered Xinling sect disciples were so furious that their eyes were bloodshot as they saw how the result of their hard work was snatched away by this group of thieves. Qinglin sect bastards, I dare you. Try to even touch the poison gall. One Xinling sect disciple suddenly stepped up. Though exhaustion was written all over his face, he blocked the Qinglin sect disciples' road with a sword. They could not lose the poison gall. If it was lost, all the hard work in this half a month would be all wasted. Then try us. Who do you think you Xinling sect people are? I gave you face, but you don't want it. Not only do I want to take the poison gall away today, but I also want to teach you useless pieces of trash a good lesson. Junior brothers, attack? Du Chong scoffed and immediately ordered his senior and junior brothers to attack. Fuck your mother. I'm going to fight it out with you. Everyone from Xinling's sect did not retreat and directly rushed up with swords in their hands. In just the blink of an eye, the two parties entered a brawl. Using the fact that they had way more people and were in extremely good condition, the Qinglin sect people did not even give Gu Yanxiu and the rest any respect and attacked them mercilessly. Gu Yanxiu pulled the poisoned Qin Huan and fought the enemies at the same time. While he had a composed nature, Qinglin sect's arrogant act of theft had resulted in fury to fully arise in him. Helplessly, Gu Yanxiu and the rest had already depleted too much energy while the opposing party was in perfect condition. In just the blink of an eye, the 9 people from Xinling sect were already on the losing end. Gu Yanxiu's heart sank to the bottom. If this continued, they would definitely lose without a doubt. Senior brother Gu, just go ahead and fight them. Leave me alone. I am fine, Qin Huan said breathlessly as he clenched his teeth and bore the burn from the poison. Those people from Qinglin's sect clearly noticed Qin Huan's condition, and Du Chang brought 2 junior brothers to circle Gu Yanxiu and Qin Huan. No matter how powerful Gu Yanxiu was, dragging an injured Qin Huan around already made him break out in cold sweat. Chapter 167. Du Chang's attack was extremely cruel. Just based on the hatred between the 2 sects, he wished he could kill these 9 people here and then. The sword in his hand pierced towards Qin Huan mercilessly, and if not for Gu Yanxiu's defense, Du Chang would have made a bloody hole in Qin Huan's body. A dignified Qinglin sect disciple is actually this shameless, Qin Huan uttered furiously. Du Chang scoffed, power is in the hands of those who win. Since you all are not our opponents, you should get down on your knees and beg for mercy. If I'm happy, I might be kind and let you all off. Bah! Qin Huan shouted angrily. A murderous look flashed across Du Chang's eyes as he used his eyes to signal the 2 disciples beside him to divert Gu Yanxiu's attention while he attacked Qin Huan. Meng Sheng and the rest were held up by the other Qinglin sect disciples and could not leave. Seeing as to how Du Chang's sword was right about to pierce through Qin Huan's chest, everyone's hearts were in their mouths. Qin Huan clearly saw that the tip of Du Chang's sword had already reached his chest, and in just a breath's time, it would pierce through him. However, a sharp swoosh rang beside everyone's ears. A cold light suddenly appeared and knocked that fatal sword away the moment Du Chang lost his strength. Who is that? Du Chang frowned deeply and turned around as his attack failed. However, he suddenly saw an alluring young girl in blue was standing on a huge rock a few meters away with an arm raised straight, accurately shooting the dumbfounded Du Chang with her hidden blade. Junior sister Yi? Qin Huan scarcely escaped that one blow and could not help but heave a sigh of relief when he saw that Yi Qingtang had suddenly rushed here in time. Yi Qingtang, who was standing on the huge rock, looked across the messy battle site, narrowing her eyes as she took a look at every Qinglin sect disciple. Her exquisite red lips curled into a seductive smile. It is unsuitable to bully my senior brothers right before me, isn't it? A voice which had a hint of laughter rang about, shocking Meng Sheng and the rest. Similarly, everyone from Qinglin's sect returned to their senses from her breathtaking beauty. I didn't expect that there would actually be such a beauty hidden in Xinling's sect. Du Chang raised his brows slightly as he looked at Yi Qingtang's exquisite face frivolously and lustfully. Little beauty, if you don't wish to see me bullying your senior brothers, it is fine as well. I've always had a tender heart for women. As long as you have a good time with me, I will naturally let your useless senior brothers go. Du Chang's words were utterly shameless. When all of the Xinling sect disciples heard this, it was like a crack of thunder that evoked endless fury. Even Meng Sheng, who disliked Yi Qingtang previously, trembled in fury by such humiliating words. How could there be such scum in a sect? Junior sister Yi, leave quickly. There's no business for you here. Gu Yanxiu suddenly shouted. There was a huge difference in strength between them and Qinglin sect, and even if Yi Qingtang joined the battle, it would be very difficult to turn over the tables. Moreover, Gu Yanxiu sharply sensed danger from Du Chang's attitude, and if Yi Qingtang did not leave now, she would be the first one that Du Chang would not let off. Yi Qingtang narrowed her eyes as an undetectable murderous intent flashed across those smiling orbs. Have a good time? How about you let me have a good time first? Yi Qingtang said with a hint of laughter. Du Chang was about to dirty talk a few more sentences, but suddenly realized that Yi Qingtang suddenly disappeared from his vision. Chapter 168. Yi Qingtang's disappearance was unforeseen, stunning everyone present. The sinister smile was still frozen on the corner of Du Chang's lips, but in the next second, a cold light suddenly flew from behind him. Du Chang did not dodge in time. Although he barely avoided being hit in a fatal point, his shoulder was still shot, and blood trickled down from the triangular arrowhead. "You've really eaten a bear's heart and a leopard's gall. How dare you talk dirty to me?" Enchanting appeared in everyone's line of sight once again, but this time, she appeared just a few steps away from Du Chong. Du Chong's face darkened, immediately taking his sword and pierced towards Enchanting. "Little thing, don't disregard my kindness." An evil and murderous look flashed across her eyes. As she looked at the oncoming Du Chong, she suddenly shifted her legs a little. It was a footstep that looked very casual, but the sword that Du Chong stabbed towards her with all his might simply could not touch Enchanting at all. "Little thing, just you wait." Du Chong turned around to attack, but just when he turned his head, Enchanting actually appeared behind him, and just at that time, her specially made hidden blade was held right against on his glabella. In just an instant, everyone stopped whatever they were doing as though time had stopped on the battle site. A piercing pain came from Du Chong's glabella, and he could clearly feel the pain from his torn flesh. However, this time, he did not dare to move anymore. "Scold. Why are you not scolding anymore?" Enchanting beamed at Du Chong, whose face started to turn as white as wax. They were clearly eyes that curved in a smile, but there was not a trace of a smile in them. What do you want to do?" Du Chong broke out in cold sweat. Enchanting's blade was just on his glabella, and at that point, he simply did not dare to move. At such a close distance, even if he avoided with all his might, his brain would instantly be pierced through as long as she released an arrow. "What do I want to do?" The smile on Enchanting's lips deepened. She exerted a little force on the hand with the hidden blade, and blood flowed down furiously from the wound on Du Chong's forehead. Warm blood stained his face, but Du Chong was no longer as arrogant as before. He could only watch this sinister young girl in fear with a pale face. "Order your senior and junior brothers to obediently abandon their weapons and scram off to a side. If there's anyone who disobeys, I will stab through your brain." Enchanting laughed evilly. She obviously had an alluring face, but with that smile, it crept one out. "I am a Qinglin sect disciple. You dare to kill me?" Du Chong did not agree to Enchanting's demands immediately. Although the two sects were not on good terms, no one openly killed anyone. Otherwise, this matter would be directly brought up to the opposing higher-ups of the two sects. Enchanting tilted her head slightly and looked at Du Chong, who was acting composed. She leaned forward and whispered in his ears, "If you disobey, none of you will be able to leave the giant rock canyon alive today. If all of you are dead, who would know? Who was the one who killed you all?" The voice with a hint of a smile traveled into Du Chong's ears. It was charming and seductive, but it only made Du Chong feel an utter chill. Somehow, Du Chong actually felt that whatever this girl said was true. She was definitely capable of committing such a massacre. Chapter 169. A drop of cold sweat, mixed with blood, dripped down from Du Chong's glabella. Enchanting could subdue him without making any noise, and with such skills, none of the junior brothers that he brought along was her opponent. At this point, Du Chong's heart was flustered as though millions of horses were galloping across. When did the outer sect of Xinling sect produce such an evildoer? Looking at her face, she was at most 15. But her skills... "Put down your weapons." Du Chong took a deep breath and could only comply under Enchanting's threats. The Qinglin sect disciples who were initially still stunned suddenly heard Du Chong. They were shocked at first, and after hesitating for a long time, they slowly pulled a distance away from the Xinling sect people and threw their swords down unwillingly. A loud clanking was heard, and all the swords dropped on the floor. "Senior brother Gu, please let all the senior brothers retreat over here," Enchanting said to Gu Yanxiu, who was behind her. Gu Yanxiu suddenly returned to his senses. The shock he felt was no less than any of those felt by the Qinglin sect people. He previously knew that Enchanting was rather skilled, but he did not expect that this little junior sister's skills were this amazing. When Gu Yanxiu exchanged blows with Du Chong just now, Gu Yanxiu already had an idea of Du Chong's abilities, and even if Gu Yanxiu were in tip-top condition, it would still be impossible for him to win against Du Chong within 100 moves. Yet, Unexpectedly, under Yi Qingtang's hands, Du Chong could not even make it through 2 moves. Junior brother Ming, you all come here first? Gu Yanxiu knew that this was not the time to be shocked. If not for Yi Qingtang's timely appearance, even if the 9 of them did not all die in the hands of Du Chong and the rest, they would still have lost a few people. The Xinling sect disciples immediately walked and stood behind Yi Qingtang. You can let me off now, Du Chong said while putting on a composed look. Yi Qingtang laughed as she raised another hand and slapped Du Chong's pale face. Let you off? You hit my senior brother Qin just now. Who should I find to settle this score then? Du Chong was alarmed, and before he returned to his senses, Yi Qingtang suddenly took out a dagger hung from her waist and slit Du Chong's wrists, breaking his tendons in a flash. A miserable cry escaped Du Chong's mouth. The extreme pain from his hands caused his legs to lose strength, and he fell on his knees with a loud wail. That sound was so shrill, and even the Xinling sect disciples had goosebumps from hearing it. More than that, an unknown fear of this little junior sister, who had been very quiet throughout the journey, was formed. Qin Huan was dumbfounded as well. He did not expect that Yi Qingtang would actually seek revenge for him. Qinglin's sect was renowned for their swordplay. Yi Qingtang broke Du Chong's hand tendon like that, and even if Du Chong found a way to recover in the future, his hands would not be as nimble as before. Those few Qinglin's sect disciples wanted to go up when they saw that Du Chong was injured. However, Yi Qingtang suddenly grabbed Du Chong's hair to make him face upwards and held the hidden blade in the other hand against Du Chong's neck. Go ahead. If you all take one step further, I will send your beloved senior brother to the netherworld, Yi Qingtang said smilingly. A bewitching smile bloomed on her exquisite face, but it only made everyone present feel an invisible, murderous atmosphere. The Qinglin sect disciples did not dare to move anymore. Du Chong was still in Yi Qingtang's hands, and they simply did not dare to resist at all. It should be known that Du Chong had a rather high position in Qinglin sect's outer sect, and if something happened to him before their eyes, they would not be able to explain to the sect. Chapter 170. Yi Qingtang looked at Qinglin's sect's cowardice and satisfaction. Even if no one mentioned it, she could guess from their reactions that the idiot she caught in her hands had some high-up position in Qinglin's sect. However, so what? Today, he is the meat, and I am the butcher. What bullshit, Qinglin's sect? Your junior brothers are pretty nice to you, Yi Qingtang said with a seeming smile as she looked down at Du Chong, who was drenched in cold sweat from the pain. Du Chong had a face full of blood, and his body could not stop trembling due to the pain. A deep sense of hatred filled his eyes as he glared at Yi Qingtang. Looks like you're not willing to submit, but don't worry, I will not kill you. Yi Qingtang's lips curled up slightly, and she suddenly released Du Chong's hair that she grabbed in her hands. Then, she took out a bottle of elixir from her space ring. Opening the bottle with one hand and using 2 fingers from the other to tug on Du Chong's lower jaw, she dislocated his jaw and poured an entire bottle of elixir directly into his mouth. Yi Qingtang poured a full bottle of elixir cleanly. Raising her leg, she kicked Du Chong's chest and forced him to swallow down a mouthful of elixir. After Du Chong was kicked on the chest by Yi Qingtang, the tendons on both his hands were broken and his jaw was dislocated. As such, he was in so much pain that his body convulsed immediately. Looking at Du Chong's misery, Yi Qingtang raised another leg and kicked him away directly. The Qinglin sect disciples instantly rushed forward and held the bruised Du Chong up. A few of them wanted to find Yi Qingtang to settle the score. However, the elixir I fed him just now was the destructive heart pill, Yi Qingtang said carelessly when she saw that the Qinglin sect disciples had dashed up to a few steps away from her. In an instant, the disciples froze on the ground. He swallowed down such a huge amount of it. If you all still don't think of a way, I guarantee that he will be at most a dimwit for the rest of his life from tomorrow onwards. Yi Qingtang smiled brightly. The destructive heart pill was a poison that crept people. Although it would not take one's life immediately, it could destroy their mind. No matter how smart someone was, the person would still become dumb, and all his martial skills and talent would be rendered useless by the pill. The Qinglin sect disciples felt a chill rising from their feet and enveloping their entire body. That was an entire bottle of destructive heart pill. With just a short delay, Du Chong would really end up worse than dead. The Qinglin sect disciples who initially wanted to fight their reputation back completely dropped the idea at this moment and helped Du Chong up frantically. With an angry glare at the Xinling sect disciples, they fled in a flurry. Watching the back view of the Qinglin sect disciples fleeing, Gu Yanxiu and the rest finally heaved a huge sigh of relief. A close shave. Really a close shave. Junior Sister Yi, it is really lucky that you're here this time, Gu Yanxiu said sincerely with a sigh. He had never felt that he would be this lucky to recruit someone into the team. At this instant, the other Xinling sect disciples completely put down all their prejudice against Yi Qingtang. What red spirit rude or not, they personally saw Yi Qingtang's abilities and were utterly convinced. They were extremely glad that Qin Huan made Yi Qingtang remain in the team. Otherwise, not only would they lose the result of their labor today, but they would also be the ones to suffer humiliation. Meng Sheng panted lightly from a side, and he could not help but feel a deep sense of shame. The moment he thought of the many suspicions he had of Yi Qingtang previously, he wished he could give himself 2 huge slaps. Chapter 171. It could be said that Meng Sheng completely experienced what having eyes but failing to see meant. Junior Sister Yi, I'm sorry. I was rude previously. You can punish me. It is all my fault for being ignorant and narrow-minded. Meng Sheng took a step forward, bowed, and apologized to Yi Qingtang with heartfelt admiration. Gu Yanxiu secretly smiled. Meng Sheng was perhaps strict, but he had a good nature. Otherwise, Gu Yanxiu would not keep cooperating with Meng Sheng. Yi Qingtang looked at Meng Sheng's earnest apology and immediately waved a hand. Senior brother Meng, why are you like this? We are all disciples of the same sect. There is no need to treat each other as strangers. A generous reply could resolve any possibly existing feuds. Yi Qingtang was like this as well, clearly distinguishing kindness and hatred. Senior brother Qin, how is your condition? Yi Qingtang was not too bothered with these and was more concerned about Qin Huan's injuries. Qin Huan was already helped to sit at a side by Gu Yanxiu. There was quite a large amount of the giant lizard's poison stained on his chest, and his arm reduced in size. His face was slightly pale, but it did not seem like there was any fatal injury. Still all right. It's just that my arm is in a little pain from the burn. Qin Huan laughed bitterly. Gu Yanxiu removed Qin Huan's clothes to check his chest injury, but was a little confused when he took a look. A mouthful of poison was spat on Qin Huan's chest by the giant lizard at that time. The power of a level 6 giant lizard poison was very scary, and if first aid was not done immediately, the person's bones would be corroded completely. Moreover, they were disturbed by Qinglin sect just now and missed the best timing. Gu Yanxiu originally thought that Qin Huan's injury would definitely be extremely serious. However, he did not expect that. After removing Qin Huan's clothes, Qin Huan's chest was perfectly fine, and not a single piece of skin was burnt. Rather, it was the area on his arm which was stained by the poison that burnt a small hole. This, Gu Yanxiu was a little speechless. This was completely different from what he imagined. Meng Sheng and the rest were confused as well. The level 6 giant lizard spat such a huge mouthful of poison on Qin Huan's chest, but he was actually in perfect condition. Even if Qin Huan was made of steel, he would still not be able to stop the corrosion from the poison. I told you I'm fine. Qin Huan patted his firm chest and found it strange as well. His gaze uncontrollably fell on the fire-resistant soft armor that Gu Yanxiu removed. The fire-resistant soft armor was not damaged at all. Although the poison burnt his outer clothes, it was completely blocked away by this piece of soft armor and, thus, did not injure him. Junior Sister Yi, this soft armor. Qin Huan suddenly returned to his senses with shock written all over his face. Junior Sister Yi, you saved my life this time. Qin Huan was not a fool. He knew that the level 6 giant lizard's poison was extremely deadly and was aware that he could escape this tragedy all thanks to the fire-resistant soft armor that Yi Qingtang ordered him to wear. Previously, Qin Huan only thought that this soft armor could block the heat and never expected that it could actually withstand the poison from a level 6 giant lizard. Yi Qingtang chuckled at Qin Huan, who was brimming with energy once again. Without saying much, she took an antidote and stuffed it into his mouth. Although the fire-resistant soft armor could block away most of the poison, Qin Huan's arm was still injured, and he would need to stay bedridden if he did not take any antidote. Everyone was curious about how Qin Huan escaped death. Qin Huan was not corny and told them about the fire-resistant soft armor that Yi Qingtang gave him. Gasps filled the air instantly. Chapter 172. As Gu Yanxiu watched Qin Huan's happy and bright face, he did not know whether to laugh or cry, and he felt a sense of regret. Yi Qingtang gave Qin Huan this fire-resistant soft armor most likely because Qin Huan defended her previously. Rather, it was Gu Yanxiu who had too many concerns and hesitated. Otherwise, he might have had a share of the armor too. This little junior sister really distinguished between kindness and hatred clearly. Qin Huan's character was also a blessing in disguise. Yi Qingtang's actions changed the opinions of the 9 people who were all guilty of looking down on her previously. These disciples were not bad by nature. Although they somewhat thought of themselves highly, they were still able to distinguish between good and bad. After treating Qin Huan's injury, Gu Yanxiu led some to remove the giant lizard's poison gall and carefully kept it. This poison gall symbolized the completion of this mission, and if it were lost, the group of them would have wasted their efforts. Junior Sister Yi, where did you get that destructive heart pill from? Spare me some. Qin Huan's arm was bandaged as he snacked on some food with a cheeky grin. What destructive heart pill? Yi Qingtang tilted her head a little. Qin Huan replied, that elixir that you forced down on that Qinglin sect fella. Yi Qingtang was a little surprised and immediately burst out laughing. I lied to them. What? Qin Huan was a little confused. The destructive heart pill is so expensive, how would I have it? And even if I have it, why would I be willing to feed him a bottle? The elixir I forced down on him was the bottle of antidote that you gave me the other time. Then, Yi Qingtang stuffed the empty bottle into Qin Huan's hand. Qin Huan's jaw dropped to the floor while Meng Shang and the rest had an unbelievable look on their faces. You didn't feed him the destructive heart pill? You're not scared of them finding out? Qin Huan's had a mixed expression. Given Qinglin sect's situation just now, Qinglin sect was still a huge threat to them even without Du Chong. Yet Yi Qingtang actually used an antidote to pass off as the destructive heart pill and bluff them away? How bold she was. Yi Qingtang shrugged casually. Regardless of whether the destructive heart pill was real or not, they still do not dare to take any chances. If it was fake, then that's it. But if it was real, do you think they won't be scared? Qinglin's sect did not dare to joke around with Du Chong's life, and even if they had their suspicions, they could only leave obediently. After hearing her words, everyone could not help but admire Yi Qingtang. Do not look at how young this little junior sister was. She was brave and astute and could get people into a fix without any means of escape. When Qinglin's sect finally realized what that elixir was and wanted to return to seek revenge, it would be too late, and they could only swallow down their loss. Everyone was overcome with emotions, but made a mental warning. In the future, they must definitely not offend this little junior sister who was as beautiful as a flower. Otherwise, the taste of this flower-like poison, they could not bear it. Junior Sister Yi, you're really smart. I didn't have time to ask you this previously. Didn't you go to direct those small giant lizards away? Why did you suddenly return? I don't see them following back either. Gu Yanxiu wiped off the giant lizard's blood on his hand and handed her a small bottle of the giant lizard's poison that Yi Qingtang wanted him to obtain. He was unclear what Yi Qingtang want the giant lizard's poison for. Yi Qingtang replied, I don't know where they went either. When I saw the Qinglin sect people just now, I wanted to come back and inform you all. Thus, I decided to direct those little giant lizards to somewhere farther and then return. But as I directed halfway, those small giant lizards suddenly dispersed. I originally thought they would return here, but now it seems that they ran off to somewhere else. Chapter 173. There's such a thing? Gu Yanxiu thought it was rather strange. Everyone did not think too much about it and took a break before they rushed back to the sect. This mission was completed very quickly and saved them 1 to 2 days at least, which was all thanks to Yiqingtang. After Gu Yanqia's question, Yiqingtang felt that something was a little off as well. It was abnormal for those giant lizards to disperse for no reason. Just as Yiqingtang was thinking, a crumbling sound suddenly rang. Then, all the animals hidden between the gaps of the molten rocks suddenly escaped in all directions. Such a large, dense swarm of creatures almost gave everyone a scare. Are these animals crazy? Why are all of them acting like they're escaping for their lives? Qin Huan stared at a tiny snake slithering past his legs, and his body could not help but shiver. Yiqingtang found it increasingly strange, and what made her even more uneasy was that the little lightning dragon in her arms moved around restlessly as though it sensed a threat. Could it be that this level 6 giant lizard is the king of this place? Now that it's dead, this group of followers wants to disperse? Another disciple cracked a joke laughingly. Yiqingtang frowned as she did her best to recall any memory regarding the giant rock canyon from her previous life. In her previous life, she had not entered Xianling's sect at this time, much less went on a mission together with Gu Yanqiu. However, Yiqingtang felt that things were a little off after connecting the incidents that they encountered today. There were 10 people in Gu Yanqiu's team, and all of them were quite skilled. Moreover, Qin Huan and Meng Sheng were about as skilled as Gu Yanqiu. But in her previous life, Yiqingtang had never heard of Meng Sheng and Qin Huan ever since she entered Xianling's sect. For Qin Huan, it was still easy to explain. If not for her fire-resistant soft armor, that mouthful of poison from the giant lizard would have killed him. Even if they met the Qinglin sect disciples in the previous life, the Qinglin sect disciples would not be so extreme to take the lives of Meng Sheng, and the rest even if the Xianling sect disciples could not defeat those from Qinglin sect. But why was it that in the future, only Gu Yanqiu became famous? The more Yiqingtang pondered, the more she felt that things were not right. Connecting both her previous and current life, she kept feeling that something must have happened during this journey back to the sect. Otherwise, it could not be so bad that Meng Sheng's and Qin Huan's names were not left behind. As Yiqingtang was thinking, the ground below her feet trembled, and gravel rolled down along with the ground's tremble, while the surrounding temperature was as though it was raised to the maximum in an instant. This is bad. Yiqingtang's eyes shook violently. She finally remembered that after entering the sect in her previous life, she had heard that there was once a magma eruption in the giant rock canyon which caused the terrain of the entire giant rock canyon to completely change. Could it be? It was today. Senior Brother Gu, let's leave the canyon immediately. Something bad is going to happen in this giant rock canyon. Yiqingtang said with a serious tone. Gu Yanqiu could not understand. Underneath the giant rock canyon was magma, and occasional trembles were normal, though they were usually not to the extent of something bad happening. However, Yiqingtang's eyes made him feel that things were not this simple. Everyone, prepare to leave the canyon immediately, Gu Yanqiu ordered instantly in order to ensure that nothing happened. But just when Gu Yanqiu gave his orders, a loud sound suddenly rang from the giant lizard's lair. In the next second, the entire ground shook violently, and a large crack emerged on the crimson ground. Chapter 174. A loud booming sound came out from all areas of the giant rock canyon, and fuming heat waves were spat out from the cracks in the ground. The magma underneath the giant rock canyon is about to erupt. Quick, we need to leave. Gu Yanqiu hurriedly instructed everyone as he saw that the situation was not right. The entire giant rock canyon was like a furnace that could boil over any time. Beneath the cracks in the ground, piping hot lava spurted out everywhere, turning the place into a hell-looking place. Everyone escaped in the shortest time possible. Despite depleting large amounts of energy from the previous 2 big battles, they still ran forward with all their might to protect their lives. Yiqingtang was very speedy, and her brain turned quickly. At this instant, she finally understood what exactly happened during this period of time in her previous life. In the previous life, Gu Yanqiu should have brought a team of 10 to the giant rock canyon and met the Qinglin sect people when the level 6 giant lizard was killed. However, Qin Huan did not have Yiqingtang's fire-resistant soft armor in the previous life, and the poison would most likely take half his life away. The other Xinling sect disciples were definitely not Qinglin sect disciples, and it was without doubt that the poison gall was stolen. Everyone must have been injured from the big battle, and if the magma erupted at that time, it would be difficult for them to escape given their condition. It was very likely that more than half of this group of people died in this eruption. Thus, there was no possibility of Yi Qingtang hearing of their names after she entered the sect. The more she thought about it, the more she felt numb. While she calculated every event from her past life, she still missed out some tiny details. The quake became increasingly violent, and every molten rock that they stepped on could crumble any time. Birds flew over their heads and let out a frightened cry. The entire giant rock canyon turned into a mess, and all the demonic beasts which settled down here fled from their lairs and for their lives. Yi Qingtang and the rest originally intended to gather and escape, but the onslaught of the army of demonic beasts caused the 10 people to quickly disperse. The magma rumbled and evaporated all moisture in the air. White mist enveloped the entire giant rock canyon, and no one could clearly see the road in front of them. Yi Qingtang was completely unaware of where she was going to escape to. The only thing she knew was that the magma in the cracks had already erupted out and was gushing out like a huge tide from within 100 meters behind her. Slower demonic beasts were swallowed by the burning magma instantly and completely burnt even though they had a thick and rough skin. Yi Qingtang only felt her scalp numbing. The roars of the surrounding demonic beasts deafened her eardrums. With large effort, she looked through the thick mist and saw a slope at a side of the canyon. She hurriedly dashed towards that direction with large footsteps, jumped onto a huge rock, and somersaulted over. And in the very next second when Yi Qingtang's feet left the ground, magma gushed past her feet and engulfed countless of lives. No matter how mighty a person was, he was not Mother Nature's opponent. Who could prevent a natural disaster from happening? Using the height from the slope, Yi Qingtang fled to a relatively safe area. As she looked down a few meters below her and saw the burning lava streaming down, the heat she felt was so intense as though she was standing in a furnace. Why did the giant rock canyon's magma suddenly erupt? Yi Qingtang frowned deeply. It should be known that this giant rock canyon had been formed for hundreds of years and had always been safe. But what exactly happened today? In her previous life, no one could analyze the reason behind this giant rock canyon tragedy even in the hundreds of years after the incident. Chapter 175. Yi Qingtang panted with lingering fear. Even if it was her, she still had to be extremely cautious when facing all of this. The team of 10 completely dispersed. Even if Yi Qingtang wanted to find the group, there was no such chance to do so in this magma havoc. However, she remembered that the giant rock canyon's natural disaster was over in less than half a day. Gu Yanxiu and the rest condition was way better than in the previous life, as they did not suffer any torture from Qinglin's sect. Given their skills, escaping from here was not too difficult. Yi Qingtang checked her own condition and realized that she was still fine other than the few holes that the lava burnt in one of her legs. Despite so, Yi Qingtang still did not dare to move around casually. The giant rock canyon natural disaster was chaos, and many demonic beasts had escaped. No one dared to ascertain that no high-level demonic beasts would appear nearby. If she really encountered them, it would be risky even for her given her current abilities. Yi Qingtang puffed, took out from her space ring an elixir which could reduce her breaths, and consumed it. She cautiously explored her surroundings in search of an escape route. She was still within the giant rock canyon at that time, but that area was of a slightly higher altitude and was relatively safe. The surrounding was mostly huge rocks and lava trees, which were the only vegetation that could survive in high temperatures. While its leaves were a shade of emerald green, each leaf carried flame toxin. Yi Qingtang took each step cautiously. I thought that there were only hideous demonic beasts in this giant rock canyon and did not expect that I would meet such a beauty. Suddenly, a voice rang behind Yi Qingtang. Yi Qingtang turned around instantly and saw a tall, feminine-looking male looking at her direction in a smile. With just a look, Yi Qingtang identified the person before her eyes and was on her fullest alert. The man who appeared behind Yi Qingtang was called Wu Qi. Although he had a gentle and soft appearance which made him seem harmless, this person was a famous villain on the assassination roll. Wu Qi looked young, and at most 26, but his real age was more than 70 to 80 years old. He cultivated an evil cultivation technique since young which could absorb one's essence to extend his own life. This cultivation technique was extremely wicked, and Wu Qi found joy in murdering others. Thus, he was listed on the assassination roll. The moment Yi Qingtang saw Wu Qi, she only felt her body tremble. No wonder those Qinglin sect people would suddenly appear at the giant rock canyon. They were here because they were chasing after Wu Qi. Little beauty, this giant rock canyon is extremely dangerous, but don't panic. I will protect you, Wu Qi said while looking at Yi Qingtang with a grin. He sensed that there were people secretly tailing him from long ago and got rid of them by some methods. He did not think that he could still see such a little beauty on the way. Judging from your clothes, you should be a Xinling sect disciple, right? It has been so long since I tasted a sect disciple. Wu Qi licked his lips gently, and an evil glint flashed across his eyes. Yi Qingtang's mental alarm went off. Not waiting for Wu Qi to return to his senses, she immediately fled into the lava trees at a side. It was almost impossible for her to deal with Wu Qi given her current abilities, and if she ended up in Wu Qi's hands, she would end up worse than dead. Damn Qinglin sect. If she knew these troubles that they stirred for her, she would have broken Du Chang's feet tendons as well at that time. Chapter 176. Ha, little beauty, you actually still like this kind of chasing game. Wu Qi watched Yi Qingtang escape, and an insidious expression filled her eyes. With a light jump, he chased after her. Villains that could be listed on the assassination roll had unparalleled skills and committed many acts of evil. Although Wu Qi was not in the first 10, his name was still on the roll. Many sects had appointed disciples to encircle and suppress him, but he escaped all of them. Wu Qi was evil and cunning. He loved playing with his prey by cornering them to a dead end and then maltreating them to death. As Yi Qingtang made a dead sprint, her mind never stopped working. Confronting the tough with toughness, she would still not be Wu Qi's opponent, even if there were 10 of her. The only thing she could rely on now was the footsteps that Uncle Qin taught her in her past life. However, even she was unsure of how long she could hold on with this. Yi Qingtang's eyes darted around as she noticed her surroundings. Using this patch of lava trees, perhaps, she could hold on for a period of time. But if she did not get rid of Wu Qi, she would eventually be caught. At that instant, Yi Qingtang's mind spun quickly as she recalled the various techniques from her previous life. She could only hate the fact that she just entered the sect and had not cultivated enough. Otherwise, she had plenty of methods to play Wu Qi to death. The distance between Wu Qi and Yi Qingtang narrowed bit by bit. Looking at the figure shuttling through the lava trees like an escaping rabbit, Wu Qi thought of a strange idea. That girl's footsteps looked a little familiar and were rather similar to the 7 stars on moon footstep of the long-disappeared Supreme God. Could it be that this girl had some connections to the Supreme God? But very quickly, Wu Qi dropped this thought. The Supreme God had disappeared for ages, and even when he was world famous, this girl might not have even been born. If she was really related to the Supreme God, how could she enter other sects so easily? At that thought, Wu Qi dropped this guess and followed Yi Qingtang at a neither slow nor fast pace as though he was playing with prey. The murderous look in his eyes intensified. What was the most suitable way of screwing with such a rare beauty? Was it chopping off her limbs then putting her in a wine cellar as a hostage to accompany him every day? Or was it to skin off that beautiful skin and hang it in a room to admire every night? Various extremely cruel techniques to torture one to death flashed across Wu Qi's mind. He already could not wait to see such a beauty be ravaged to death by him. However, just as Wu Qi was thinking of these, Yi Qingtang suddenly disappeared from his vision. Wu Qi immediately rushed to the last spot where Yi Qingtang was at, stopped in his tracks, and narrowed his eyes as he searched the surroundings for her. Just above Wu Qi's head and between the tall lava trees, A rather pale-looking Yi Qingtang silently hid in the branches as she looked at Wu Qi, who suddenly stopped. She was lucky that she consumed the elixir which could hide her breathing before she entered here. Otherwise, Wu Qi would have sensed her even if she hid on this lava tree. At this instant, Yi Qingtang held her breath and did not dare to make any noise at all. She fixed her eyes on Wu Qi's movement, and every cell in her body was on a critically high alert. Under the tree, Wu Qi frowned slightly. He clearly saw Yi Qingtang at this spot just now. How did she disappear for no reason? However, just as Wu Qi could not figure out his questions, an enormous black shadow suddenly appeared in his line of sight. Chapter 177. With just a look, Wu Qi had goosebumps all over. That was a huge black fog, and its moving form made it seem like a black hole. It emitted a creepy aura of the evil, and everywhere it passed turned into a withered patch of yellow, including the sturdy lava trees whose life was engulfed in an instant. What exactly is this thing? Wu Qi could only feel a stronger than ever oppression enveloping him. All his energy seemed to be sucked away by this unknown black fog, and his inner fear made him want to escape this place as soon as possible. However, it was as though his legs grew roots and were so rooted into the ground that there was no way of moving an inch. On the other hand, that enormous black fog neared him at a rapid speed. On the lava tree, Yi Qingtang saw that scary black fog, and she felt a chill running down her spine. What was that? Yi Qingtang was shocked and suddenly remembered that she seemed to have heard of something similar in her previous life. Between heaven and earth, there was a large aura of the evil which could devour the sun and the moon and engulf rivers and oceans. No one could block it, and anyone who saw it would die without a doubt. That aura of the evil did not have a fixed whereabout and would always appear at weird places. Many sects wanted to trace down its location but suffered huge losses, and some sects even ended up being tragically wiped out. Even if Yi Qingtang were to die, she never thought that the aura of the evil that she had never seen in the 300 years of her previous life would actually appear at the giant rock canyon. The appearance of the aura of the evil was an unusual phenomenon, and the reason for the sudden magma eruption in the giant rock canyon was most likely a result of this aura of the evil. The black fog slowly approached where Wu Qi was. Compared to the black fog that was 10 meters away from him, Wu Qi's tall figure appeared tiny. The black fog only brushed past Wu Qi. But even with that 2-meter distance between them, it was as though Wu Qi's body was dragged by a certain powerful force. Black breath suddenly flowed out from Wu Qi's eyes, ears, nose, and mouth, forming into black strings which became part of that ball of aura of the evil. It was as though Wu Qi's body was completely numbed. He stood at the same spot without moving, and an expression of fear was frozen on his face, seeming to be in utter despair. Yi Qingtang held her breath and watched wide-eyed as Wu Qi's breaths were slowly drawn out from his body by that aura of the evil. The aura of the evil contained all evil auras in the world. For such a villainous person like Wu Qi, the amount of evil breaths in him was enough to form large quantities of the aura of the evil, and these breaths attracted this enormous aura of the evil to suck them all. In just the blink of an eye, Wu Qi, who was still chasing after Yi Qingtang previously, had all his breaths sucked away. His entire body was as pale as paper, and he fell onto the ground just like that while that black fog continued shuttling deeper into the lava tree's forest as if it was not affected at all. Finally, after the aura of the evil vanished from her line of sight, Yi Qingtang finally let out a huge breath. She could still run when she met Wu Qi, but if that aura of the evil noticed her, she could only wait for death. Not mentioning the current her, even if she cultivated for hundreds of years, there would still not be the slightest chance of surviving it. Yi Qingtang stayed on the tree for a long time, and only after confirming that the aura of the evil would not return again did she jump down from the tree. Chapter 178. The aura of the evil gradually moved farther away. After a distance, it suddenly quivered. and the black fog dissipated bit by bit, leaving behind a silver figure. It was a mighty and majestic silver wolf. Its silver fur all over its body glistened, but some black fog remained between the fur. Its scarlet eyes were as fierce as that of a wild beast. After taking a few steps forward, it fainted and fell on the ground with a heavy thud. On the other side, Yiqingtang looked at the lifeless Wu Qi beside her legs, and her lips tugged upwards into a smile. Wu Qi would never have dreamt that he would die from this scary force one day. Yiqingtang touched her chin and took out the dagger on her waist, chopping off Wu Qi's head. This Wu Qi was a person on the assassination roll. Although he was not ranked highly, this head could be exchanged for many shimming points if brought back to the sect. At that thought, Yiqingtang really felt that the aura of the evil from just now was a great help to her. However, she did not dare to stay for long as well. God knows when that aura of the evil would appear again. Even Wu Qi did not have any ability to fight back. If it was her, she would only die earlier. Then, Yiqingtang was unwilling to stay any longer and immediately fled. The lava tree forest turned into a desolate field after the aura of the evil passed through it. The vitality of the lava trees was sucked away, and yellowed leaves fell onto the ground. Just by walking in the place where the aura of the evil had extended, she felt a chill inside her. Before long, Yiqingtang suddenly saw that there was a figure not far away from her. There was a huge silver wolf with a dangerous black fog lingering around it. Yiqingtang instinctively wanted to leave, but when she looked at the silver wolf which clenched its teeth in pain, she hesitated. In her previous life, Yiqingtang once saved a small wolf while she was on the run. At that time, she was alone, and everyone was after her life. She often felt real loneliness, but that small wolf was the only companion by her side during her most difficult times. But ultimately, that small wolf was cruelly killed because it protected her. Up to this day, that bloody scene remained in Yiqingtang's mind like a disease. Unexpectedly, Yiqingtang spun on her heels and walked towards that silver wolf. The black fog that hovered around the silver wolf radiated an evil aura and was exactly the same as the black fog on Wu Qi's body when he died. This silver wolf was possibly the aura of the evil's target as well, but survived by chance. Looking at the silver wolf, Yiqingtang's mind could not help but overlap its image with the small wolf that she once raised. After taking a deep breath, she lowered her body and placed her hands on the silver wolf. The heart of the demon god within Yiqingtang was a weapon which could absorb all the aura of the evil on earth, and the rumored demon god was even able to control all the aura of the evil. As Yiqingtang's hands were placed against the wolf, the aura of the evil which lingered around the silver wolf was slowly absorbed by the heart of the demon god within her. Upon looking at the majestic silver wolf under Yiqingtang's hands, the little black ball hidden her body went crazy. Why? Why is he here? Chapter 179. Mu Su's face was dotted with sweat beads. As he sped forward, his eyes swept across every inch of his surroundings. At this instant, Mu Su was so anxious that his heart was about to explode. "Your Highness, where did you go? You must stay safe at this time." Mu Su was one of the few people who knew that Han Saming was the demon god, but exactly because of this, Mu Su was even more worried. His Highness had lost the heart of the demon god and could not control the aura of the evil within his body at every moment. There was always that one period of time when the aura of the evil in his Highness' body would explode out, and because he could not control the aura, he would turn into an animal all the way until the collective entity of the aura of the evil was dissipated everywhere. Previously, Han Saming calculated the timing when the aura of the evil would explode. Thus, he came to this giant rock canyon which rarely had any people. Yet, unexpectedly, this resulted in the eruption of the magma beneath the giant rock canyon, and it was during this chaos that Mu Su lost trace of Han Saming. At this very instant, Mu Su only thought of finding Han Saming as soon as possible. The aura of the evil's collective entity would not remain condensed for too long, and when it dissipated, Han Saming would enter an extremely frail state. Then, he could only remain in an animal form. If anyone else saw this, God knows what would happen. Su dashed throughout and faintly sensed that the aura of the evil ahead of him was increasingly stronger. But when he reached the place, he was so stunned that he was rooted to the ground as though he was struck by lightning. 10 meters away, an exquisite figure was half kneeling in front of a huge silver wolf. Her small fair hands were gently placed against the silver wolf's smooth fur, and the aura of the evil lingering around the silver wolf was sucked away by those hands bit by bit. The worried expression on Musu's face dropped at that very moment. Yi Qingtang? Why was she here? Yi Qingtang did not sense Musu's appearance at all, as she only focused on absorbing the aura of the evil away from the silver wolf's body using the heart of the demon god. As the aura of the evil was slowly absorbed away, the silver wolf's shiny fur appeared before Yi Qingtang. Yi Qingtang praised herself. Because of that small wolf, she had an unknown love for all wolves, and she could not keep her hands away, especially from that fluffy fur. As such, she had offended many wolves. However, she had never seen such a plump, sturdy, and shiny wolf. It is really so pretty. Yi Qingtang originally decided to leave after saving the wolf, but looking at the tempting wolf before her, greed started to fill her big eyes. This wolf should be a wild wolf, right? It probably did not have an owner. Even if she carried it away, no one would care, right? At this thought, a bold thought rose in her mind. Although she already had a little lightning dragon, it was still small and would not have any combat power in a short while. But this wolf was different. It had such a strong build, and it should have very good combat power if she raised it. Yi Qingtang thought hard of how to bring this ownerless silver wolf away. She narrowed her eyes and looked around her surroundings. After ensuring that there was no one around, she swallowed down a few elixirs which temporarily raised her strength and opened her arms to carry the silver wolf horizontally. Not far away, Musu saw His Highness being carried bridal style by Yi Qingtang and almost fainted right there and then. Chapter 180. His Highness was being carried, and it was even by a girl in bridal style. Musu simply did not dare to believe the scene he witnessed. But just when Musu was shocked that his legs turned into jelly, Yi Qingtang had long carried His Highness and ran away like a wisp of vapor. Musu was violently alarmed as he dashed after her with a broken-down expression. "Lady Yi, put him down. Put His Highness down, Ace. If you like wolves, I can even catch a pack of them for you. But put down His Highness, please." On the other side, Yi Qingtang's annoyance over all sorts of accidents in the giant rock canyon was completely gone because she gained such a precious wolf. She was so happy carrying the sleeping wolf that her feet were as light as feathers. The giant rock canyon's magma eruption gradually stabilized. This time, Yi Qingtang did not encounter any more irritable incidents as she carried the wolf cheerfully and searched for her senior brothers. What Yi Qingtang was unaware of was that halfway through her journey, the wolf's originally tightly shut eyes opened, and a violent, murderous aura rushed out from its eyes as though it wanted to summon an apocalypse. However, in the next second, the silver wolf saw a familiar face and, at the same time, felt a cold air which continuously flowed from her chest area and slowly swallowed the uncontrollable aura of the evil within him. The brutal expression in its eyes disappeared as it fell into a trance in an instant. "Yi Qingtang, don't be scared. I won't abandon you." It heard the girl's ever-gentle comforting words as her soft hands lightly caressed its head, ears. The silver wolf wanted to move but discovered a fact that stunned him. At this moment, he was being carried in the arms of a tiny girl. Perhaps, continue pretending to unconscious was better. At the entrance of the giant rock canyon, Gu Yanxiu and the rest looked fearfully at the canyon which was swallowed by lava. As they saw the temperature of the magma decreasing and the crimson patch being slowly covered by an ash black, they could not help but regard the power of Mother Nature with reverence. "Is everyone here?" Gu Yanxiu took a glance at the other disciples. While the eruption was sudden, it was good that Yi Qingtang warned them in time, and they were pretty skilled, so all of them escaped out. Qin Huan looked around, and his expression turned ugly. Junior sister Yi. 9 out of 10 of them had returned, and only Yi Qingtang was missing. At that time, everyone's expressions turned extremely ugly. Junior brother Qin. Stay here and keep a lookout. Junior brother Ming and I will search nearby. Junior sister Yi is sharp and intelligent and would probably not have any accidents, Gu Yanqiu said with a frown. Meng Sheng nodded immediately. But just when they were ready to leave in search for Yi Qingtang, a worried-looking Qin Huan suddenly saw a figure running towards them at high speed. Junior sister Yi? The worry on his face was frozen the instant he saw Yi Qingtang, and surprise subsequently filled his eyes as he watched Yi Qingtang dashing towards them with a big unknown thing in her hands. Senior brother Qin. All of you are out already? Yi Qingtang obediently stood before her senior brothers while carrying her precious wolf. The group of them who were initially full of worry for Yi Qingtang immediately gathered forward. But just when they noticed that Yi Qingtang not only escaped but also carried such a huge silver wolf in her arms, a look of horror appeared on their faces. Chapter 181. Yi Qingtang had a small frame, but the creature in her arms was so magnificent. The contrast between the two was striking. Junior sister Yi, this wolf. Qin Huan wanted to say something but stopped, and his eyes had a complicated expression. I picked it up on my way back. Yi Qingtang's eyes immediately smiled blissfully once she talked about the wolf. Everyone did not know what to feel. They were chased by the lava throughout and had to run like dogs. But Yi Qingtang was another level. Not only did she escape by herself, she even carried such a huge wolf back. This little junior sister was rather fierce. This wolf seems quite special. I have never seen a silver wolf before, Gu Yanqiu said as he forced himself to stay composed. His junior sister had done many shocking things already. Right? Yi Qingtang's widened her bright eyes which were filled with pride and said, I have never seen one before as well. At first, I suspected whether it was a demonic beast but did not see any demonic beast aura on its body. Perhaps it's a special breed. The certain demon god who pretended to faint. Special breed? Qin Huan touched his chin as he sized up that silver wolf. Just seeing Yi Qingtang's spirited look, he already guessed that his junior sister was intending to raise this wolf. Shifting his gaze back to the wolf's blinding fur, Qin Huan also thought that while the wolf was not conscious, it was more majestic the more he looked at it, and perhaps this was a good thing. Junior sister Yi, you're really lucky. I see that this wolf is pretty good, Qin Huan said as he reached out to touch the wolf. Suddenly, an undetectable deathly cold air radiated around the silver wolf, and a murderous aura filled the air. But just when Qin Huan stretched out his hand, Yi Qingtang immediately took a step back while carrying the silver wolf and shouted at Qin Huan with a protective look. Mine. The demon god's heart was very complicated. The murderous aura subsequently vanished into thin air. When Qin Huan looked at his hand hanging in the air and then looked at Yi Qingtang's protective stance, his lips could not help but twitch. Okay, yours. I will not snatch with you. Qin Huan dropped his hand helplessly and could not help but quietly think to himself, why did he not see that his little junior sister had such a childish side to her? It was just a touch. Why did she have to be so stingy? She had already given him the exorbitant fire-resistant soft armor, but could not even let him touch a single hair of the wolf. Yi Qingtang lifted her chin and hugged the silver wolf more tightly. The image of the little wolf's miserable death from her previous life was still etched in her mind. She instinctively protected the silver wolf in her arms tightly. Qin Huan's mood fell to the bottom since he could not touch the wolf and was even glared at by Yi Qingtang. On the other hand, Gu Yanqiu and the rest were elated at the sight. They felt that this little junior sister was scarily powerful previously and was completely not like her age. But now, she acted a little spoiled like that of a teenage girl. It is not easy to ride a horse while carrying a wolf. Junior brother Ming and I will look for a carriage from the town nearby, Gu Yanqiu said. Thank you, two senior brothers, Yi Qingtang said with a smile. Gu Yanqiu and Meng Shang were about to leave, but felt that something was off suddenly. Their attention was completely attracted by that silver wolf in Yi Qingtang's arms previously, and only now did they notice there was actually a huge cloth bag hung on her waist. Something circular was in that bag, and it was even dripping with blood. Chapter 182. Junior Sister Yi, is this a snack you prepared for this wolf? Qin Huan said, and pointed to that bloody cloth bag. Yi Qingtang looked down and burst out laughing. No, this is Wu Qi's head. Everyone's jaw dropped to the ground. Wu Qi? You're not talking about that Wu Qi on the assassination roll, right? Qin Huan's lips twitched and felt that this news was even more explosive than the wolf. Yi Qingtang nodded obediently. Gasps instantly filled the air. The 9 of them widened their eyes as they looked at the beautiful girl with a scared expression, as though they were looking at a monster. They were more or less aware of Wu Qi's abilities. Although he was not the strongest, he was not someone that could be independently killed by an outer sect disciple like them. In the end, not only did Yi Qingtang pick up a silver wolf, she even easily chopped off Wu Qi's head. Everyone's feelings were extremely complicated for a moment. Looking at everyone's expression, Yi Qingtang realized that they might have misunderstood. I met him on the way, but he had some accident and already was dead, so I conveniently cut his head off. It was unwise for Yi Qingtang to mention the aura of the evil. After all, the aura of the evil was too powerful. The less trouble, the better. Hearing Yi Qingtang's words, everyone slowly let out a sigh of relief. A natural disaster hit this giant rock canyon today, and it could be that Yi Qingtang had the opportunity to cut his Wu Qi's head off because he encountered a high-level demonic beast that was escaping. Although she did not kill him independently, there was really nothing to say about her luck. Ahem. We will look for a carriage first. Gu Yanxiu cleared his throat and said. Then, he and Meng Sheng rode the horses that they left outside the canyon previously and headed nearby to look for a carriage. On the other hand, Yi Qingtang and the rest rested outside the canyon. Yi Qingtang sat on a large rock and looked at the silver wolf, which was still in a deep sleep in her arms. She could not help but worry whether the wolf was injured in other areas. Thus, she carefully held the wolf's paw and checked carefully. After inspecting, she did not find any other wounds and finally sighed in relief. However, it is so nice to touch. Yi Qingtang became addicted to touching it. Her tiny hands caressed the wolf all over as though they were stuck onto the wolf's body, and she looked extremely blissful. This fur was more comfortable than any of the wolves she touched before. The certain demon god who pretended to faint was completely frozen because someone continuously took advantage of him. Mu Su had chased up since a long time ago, but when he saw that Yi Qingtang met up with a group of Xianling sect disciples, it was inconvenient for him to appear. He could only quietly look at His Highness being carelessly touched all over in Yi Qingtang's arms from a distance away. He felt very complicated. Extremely complicated. Mu Su pondered if he should find a chance to save His Highness, but thinking from another angle, it was even more suitable for His Highness to remain beside Yi Qingtang given his current condition. After all, the heart of the demon god within Yi Qingtang was the key to controlling the aura of the evil. If His Highness could be near the heart of the demon god, the uncontrolled aura of the evil in his body would be eased. At that thought, Mu Su quietly kept his leg back. The moment Mu Su thought of His Highness' unbearable technique in picking up girls, he instantly felt that letting His Highness follow Yi Qingtang in this form was good as well. Your Highness, you must make use of this opportunity and get along well with Lady Yi. I can only help you up to here. Chapter 183. Just when Mu Su was proud of his wittiness, his face suddenly froze. That is not right. His Highness is in animal form right now, and Lady Yi is completely unaware of His Highness' identity. How are they going to get along? Human beast. Mu Su suddenly sensed that his thoughts were very dangerous and immediately decided to bring His Highness back first. But when Mu Su turned around and was about to turn into a wolf, he saw Gu Yanxiu and Meng Sheng had already brought a carriage over, and Yi Qingtang carried the silver wolf up the carriage. That carriage quickly disappeared right before Mu Su's eyes. Mu Su went crazy. Yi Qingtang sat in the carriage while hugging the wolf, and other senior brothers rode on their hoses on the way back. Meng Shang was perhaps guilty for suspecting Yi Qingtang and, thus, took on the role of the coachman and even helped Yi Qingtang to hang the bloody bag containing Wu Qi's head outside the carriage. There were some obstacles in this journey, but everyone returned safely. A line of them headed back to Xinling's sect in a mighty formation. They only wanted to return to the sect as early as possible, turn in the mission, and exchange for shimming points to continue in their cultivation. Perhaps the day was too tiring. Yi Qingtang leaned against the silver wolf and fell into a deep sleep throughout the bumpy journey. In the next instant, after Yi Qingtang fell into a deep sleep and her breathing was stable, the wolf suddenly opened its tightly shut eyes and turned his head a little to look at Yi Qingtang, who fell asleep on its body, with a complicated expression. A black fog suddenly floated out of Yi Qingtang's chest and slowly formed into a little black ball. The little black ball shuttled to the front of the silver wolf, and it could not stop moving its round body. Anyone could tell that it was agitated at this very instant. Wow, wow, wow. Would-be father, you're finally taking action. I still looked down on you previously and did not expect that you would be so amazing this time. The little black ball happily bounced about while looking at the silver wolf. As early as when its mother met the silver wolf, the little black ball already knew that the other party was its would-be father. Who would have thought that would-be father was so witty? He discovered that mother liked wolves and knew how to give her what she liked. This was much more reliable than before. The silver wolf watched the little black ball with cold eyes which were devoid of emotion. However, the little black ball blabbered on happily, as if it completely did not sense the silver wolf's indifference. But I keep thinking that there seems to be something wrong with your appearance. Is that taste for a human beast a little too? Before the little black ball finished its sentence, the silver wolf suddenly launched its paw at the little black ball. The little black ball, which was a conscious being, could only be touched by the demon god, and this paw caused its palm-sized body to knock into all areas in the carriage. In just the blink of an eye, the little black ball, whose head was spinning from the collision, fell in front of the silver wolf. It wanted to float up dizzily, but was pressed on the ground with the silver wolf's paw. Boo-hoo! The little black ball wanted to cry. Its would-be father was so violent, and it was impossible for its tiny body to escape from that huge paw. The silver wolf looked at the little black ball coldly and flipped its paw to kill off the little black ball's voice. Then, the silver wolf shifted its eyes, looked at Yi Qingtang sleeping soundly on its body, and quietly continued to pretend to be unconscious in the carriage, while that little black ball, whose state worse off than being dead, was in despair. Boo-hoo-hoo, is it too late to change a father? Chapter 184. The journey back was safe and stable. On the way back, everyone regained their energy, and the condition of the wound on Qin Huan's arm improved. In the blink of an eye, everyone returned to Xinling's sect. Yi Qingtang was very gloomy about one thing, though. That silver wolf was in deep sleep throughout the journey and did not show any signs of consciousness. But it did not have a single drop of water over the past few days, which really worried Yi Qingtang. It was not easy to pick up such a handsome wolf, and if it was starved to death, who would she go to cry to? Luckily, although the wolf did not ingest anything, it did not look weary at all, and its fur was as shiny as before. Yi Qingtang then finally sighed as emotions overcame her. Indeed, animals like wolves should still be appropriately fat for them to be able to withstand a drain in energy. When they reached Xinling's sect, Yi Qingtang insisted on personally carrying the silver wolf into the sect. During that period of time, Qin Huan and the rest wanted to help as they saw her short limbs, but were all rejected by Yi Qingtang as though she was protecting it from thieves, causing all the senior brothers to feel extremely complicated. This little junior sister's love for wolves was quite strong. When Yi Qingtang returned to her room, Su Wan and Lin Long were not around. She nimbly laid the unconscious silver wolf on her bed and touched its fur without bearing to let go. After I submit the mission, they'll find someone to take a look at you. Wait for me, Yi Qingtang said to the silver wolf very earnestly. The certain someone who continued pretending to be unconscious felt very complicated. Yi Qingtang settled the silver wolf and immediately headed to the rewards pavilion with Wu Qi's head. The team mission with Gu Yanqi's team was to be submitted by Gu Yanqiu, and the obtained shimming points had to be divided amongst all the participants, while this head that Yi Qingtang had in her hand was all hers. Yi Qingtang walked towards the rewards pavilion in a good mood. She did not have any idea how many shimming points Wu Qi's head was worth, but according to the assassination roll, the bare minimum amount would not be lower than a 3-digit number. If she could exchange the head for so many shimming points, Yi Qingtang's subsequent efficiency and cultivation in the sect would really be doubled. Just as Yi Qingtang hummed a song and walked through the outer sect, her agile figure fell into the eyes of someone from not far away. Senior Brother Yun, I'm still not too familiar with the swordplay that the warden taught yesterday. Can you teach me one more time? Su Wan lifted her exquisitely made-up face and looked at Yun Shu beside her, but suddenly realized that Yun Shu's eyes seemed to be attracted by something. She could not help but look up curiously in the direction of Yun Shu's gaze, but this look completely caused the smile on her face to freeze. Was that figure walking past from a distance away not Yi Qingtang, who left the outer sect for half a month? The moment Su Wan saw Yi Qingtang, her heart skipped a beat instinctively. Junior sister Yi is back? Yun Shu could not help but smile as he looked at Yi Qingtang's back view. But in Su Wan's eyes, that thoughtless smile was more disturbing than ever. Ever since Yi Qingtang left the outer sect, Su Wan abandoned all previous reservations and searched for an excuse to find Yun Shu every day. It was as though she completely replaced Yi Qingtang's position as the person around Yun Shu. Yun Shu was good-natured and not good at rejecting people's requests. Su Wan succeeded time over time, and in just half a month's time, rumors about the two of them started to spread within the outer sect. Yun Shu had never put it to heart and tried to explain a few times, but Su Wan told him to brush it off using the excuse that as long as they had nothing going on between them, it would eventually be proven to others. Little did anyone know that this outcome was exactly what Su Wan wanted. Chapter 185. Su Wan was confident that she could conquer Yun Shu bit by bit, but she never thought that Yi Qingtang would come back so quickly. She originally thought that Yi Qingtang would take at least half a month before returning, but seeing her again now made her furious already. However, Su Wan was very smart to not show this anger on her face and could only hide away all the hatred in her eyes as she followed Yun Shu's gaze. She said gently, I have not returned to the room today and didn't know that junior sister Yi came back. Then, Su Wan looked at senior brother Yun's handsome side profile and smiled faintly. Senior brother Yun kept worrying about junior sister Yi's safety all this time. Now, it seems that junior sister Yi returned safely, and you don't need to worry anymore. Yun Shu chuckled and shook his head. She is young, so I was a little worried. Now that she returned safely, my heart is naturally at ease. Yun Shu's voice had a hint of laughter, and every word was filled with concern for Yi Qingtang, piercing Su Wan's heart like a silver needle. She secretly clenched her fists that were hidden in her sleeves and tried to maintain the sweet and gentle expression on her face. Senior brother Yun has a good nature, and everyone knows it. However, junior sister Yi went on the mission together with other senior brothers. Junior sister Yi was born pretty, and those senior brothers would naturally take more care of her. You worry too much already. Su Wan's neither harsh nor light words had needles hidden in them. Not only did she pick up the fact that Yi Qingtang did not go on the mission with Yun Shu, she even emphasized her beautiful appearance and close interactions with other senior brothers. After Yun Shu heard her, he only gave a brief smile and did not put it to heart. It's good that she's back. If you meet her when you return, do tell her to find me. The warden taught quite a lot of things over the past few days, and I have prepared a set for her. Jealousy and hatred flashed across Su Wan's eyes. Yi Qingtang was not in the outer sect for the past half-month, but Yun Shu actually thought about Yi Qingtang for everything. On what basis? Even though she was clearly the one staying by senior brother Yun's side during this period of time. I got it. I will tell junior sister Yi when I return. Su Wan said as she forcefully suppressed the unwillingness in her heart. Yunshu nodded and did not say anything more. On the other side, Yi Qingtang reached the rewards pavilion in no time and went up the stairs directly. There were not many people in the rewards pavilion at that time. When Yi Qingtang was handing in the head, she coincidentally met Gu Yanxiu and Qin Huan, who were submitting the mission as well. Junior Sister Yi, you're finally willing to leave that precious silver wolf of yours now? Qin Huan could not help but joke with Yi Qingtang when he saw her. Over the past few days, they witnessed how overprotective she was. Yi Qingtang raised her eyebrows and simply did not bother arguing with the likes of him. Gu Yanxiu, who was standing aside, let out a laugh. At the same time, the warden in charge of verifying the mission entered the reward for killing the level 6 giant lizard into Gu Yanxiu's bracelet. In Xinling sect, every disciple had a bracelet which recorded the number of shimming points they had. Gu Yanxiu looked at the shimming points on her bracelet and smiled at Yi Qingtang. It's good that you're here, Junior Sister Yi. You can take your share of shimming points? Yi Qingtang directly raised her hand with the bracelet without saying anything. Gu Yanxiu immediately transferred Yi Qingtang's 60-plus shimming points onto her bracelet. This is still a small amount. The head in your hand is then the big one. Gu Yanxiu chuckled as he looked at Yi Qingtang. If other new disciples obtained 60-plus shimming points in their first month, it was already considered a huge amount. But this 60 over points were really nothing compared to Wu Qi's head in Yi Qingtang's hand. Chapter 186. Junior Sister Yi, are you still willing to come with us if there are any missions in the future? At that instant, Gu Yanxiu could not help but invite Yi Qingtang. Other outer sect disciples who came to submit their missions looked over in their direction because of Gu Yanxiu's words. Gu Yanxiu had a good reputation in the outer sect, and his team missions had the highest completion rate. Many disciples wanted to join his team, but Gu Yanxiu was stricter in picking teammates, and it was very difficult for him to look at ordinary disciples. However, Gu Yanxiu sent out a second mission invitation to a new disciple. What was going on? Everyone was sure that she was a new disciple when they took a look at her. They were very surprised as to why Gu Yanxiu would favor her so much. Yi Qingtang pondered for a moment and smiled. I don't intend to take on any more rewarded missions this month. I'll tell Senior Brother Gu when I feel like taking on any missions. After turning in Wu Qi's head, her shimming points should last her for a period of time. Increasing her skills in the shortest time possible was then the key. The surrounding disciples could not help but widen their eyes when they saw that Yi Qingtang actually rejected Gu Yanxiu's invitation in public and suspected whether there was anything wrong with their ears. In the outer sect, there were so many people who wanted to go on a team mission with Gu Yanxiu, but did not have the opportunity to. But Gu Yanxiu already took the initiative to invite Yi Qingtang, and she actually rejected it straight up without thinking? Was this little junior sister an idiot? Everyone began to look at Yi Qingtang incredulously. Gu Yanxiu was, however, not shocked. He knew that Yi Qingtang was a girl with her own views. All right, just find me or Qin Huan when you are free. It was already shocking for Gu Yanxiu to be rejected, but after being rejected, Gu Yanxiu was not at all repelled and even spoke so nicely to her. Everyone was a little muddle-headed at that moment. Since when was Gu Yanxiu so nice to talk to? Why had they not seen it before? You can hurry on with whatever you have. I have to distribute the shimming points to Mingsheng and the rest. They'll contact you next time. Gu Yanxiu waved a hand to Yi Qingtang and led Qin Huan out of the rewards pavilion. With Gu Yanxiu's departure, everyone stared at Yi Qingtang even more boldly and openly. Although they did know how much the reward for Gu Yanxiu's mission was, rewarded missions that Gu Yanxiu would look at would not be too bad. But Gu Yanxiu said that the reward for this mission was small, and that this little junior sister had an even bigger mission in her hands. Everyone's curiosity was piqued uncontrollably as they stretched their necks to look at the cloth bag in Yi Qingtang's hand. I am here to submit a mission. Yi Qingtang was long familiar with the set way of the rewards pavilion as she handed the cloth bag into the warden's hand. That warden looked at Yi Qingtang confusedly. Why did he not remember that this young lady came to take on a mission before? But when the warden untied the bag that Yi Qingtang handed over, expressions of shock suddenly appeared on his face. The warden looked up in surprise. In the rewards pavilion, the only mission that did not need to be taken on in advance was killing a villain on the assassination roll. He had managed the rewards pavilion for many years and clearly remembered all the faces of those villains on the assassination roll since a long time ago. The thing in the open bag was clearly the head of Wu Qi, a villain on the assassination roll. Chapter 187. The disciples became even more curious after seeing the warden's expression and looked towards that cloth bag. Once they saw the bloody head, they were all dumbfounded. What kind of mission needed her to hand in a head? Other than the assassination roll, they really could not think of anything else. However, looking at the young face of the new disciple, there was no way they would believe that such a new and young girl could behead anyone on the assassination roll. However, did you kill him? The warden's eyes were slightly shocked as he looked at the beautiful girl in front of him. Yi Qingtang beamed. I did not notice how much the reward is for him. He'll have to trouble Senior to give me some guidance. Upon listening to her words, the warden accepted that the head was chopped off by Yi Qingtang. His eyes softened and said after pausing a while, 376 shimming points, 376. The curious outer sect disciples' jaws dropped upon hearing the warden's words. A head could be exchanged for over 300 shimming points? Other than a villain on the assassination roll, whose head would be worth so much? Yi Qingtang was very calm though. She knew that Wu Qi's name was not too big, and thus, it was worth less than other priceless heads on the roll. But over 300 points plus the 60+ points from Gu Yanxiu made a total of over 400 shimming points, which was already enough for her to spend freely. Please help me exchange for the points then, Senior. Yi Qingtang lifted her hand with a smile, and her eyes glistened as she watched huge quantities of shimming points being slid onto her bracelet. This scene made all the surrounding disciples stare wide-eyed with their mouths open as they suspected if they saw wrongly until they recognized the human head. That head seems to be Wu Qi's? Someone mumbled, and this fell into everyone's ears. In a moment, everyone looked at Yi Qingtang as though they were looking at a monster. Was this a joke? A new disciple could actually chop off Wu Qi's head? Had they gone crazy, or had the world gone crazy? Yi Qingtang did not bother with their reactions. After all the shimming points reached her hand, she thanked the warden and left the rewards pavilion with a bright smile. The warden looked at that head placed on the table with complicated feelings. After storing the head away, he wrote a few words on the file beside. Yi Qingtang beheaded Wu Qi. After he was done writing, he felt that something was wrong and immediately found an assistant to send this file out. If he did not remember wrongly, Yi Qingtang should be a disciple who just entered this month. Such results in just half a month. This disciple is not simple. Apart from providing rewarded missions for disciples, one could find out other disciples' skills according to the completion status of the mission and, thus, discover talented disciples. Informing this news to the outer sect elders was appropriate. On the other hand, Yi Qingtang, who obtained shimming points, did not know what kind of trouble would come her way after picking up this head. At this instant, Yi Qingtang was already at the door of the physician warden in the outer sect and directly invited him into her dorm. Anything could be put on wait temporarily right now. Wakening her precious wolf was then the most important thing. Chapter 188. Warden 2. This is my wolf. It has been in deep sleep for many days and has not woken up. I'll have to trouble you to take a look at it. Yi Qingtang pointed at the huge wolf on her bed and said to the over 100-year-old senior whom she brought to her room. Warden 2 touched his beard and examined the wolf on the bed with narrowed eyes. Are you certain it did not sustain any external injuries? Warden 2 was responsible for medical aspects in Xinling sect's outer sect. If any outer sect disciple was sick, he was always asked to help. Occasionally, some disciples with combat pets would find him for help as well, and Warden 2 was already used to such things. I've checked many times on the way and did not see any injuries on its body, Yiqingtang said. Warden 2 nodded thoughtfully and stepped forward to examine the silver wolf's condition, but his expression became a little weird after this check. Little girl, are you really intending to raise this wolf? Warden 2 looked at Yiqingtang as though he wanted to say something more. Is there any problem? Yiqingtang was a little puzzled. Warden 2 sighed. There isn't any problem, but although this wolf of yours looks pretty good, it is at most an ordinary wolf breed and not a spirit animal. Even if you spend all your energy to raise it well, it would probably not be a good combat pet, and at most a useless wolf. Although this wolf's fur was very nice, Warden 2 felt that this was an ordinary wolf, and there was nothing special about it no matter how he saw it. The certain wolf with tightly shut eyes suddenly let out a dangerous aura upon hearing the words useless wolf. However, Yiqingtang and Warden 2 were in a conversation and did not notice it. Warden 2, I just like it. No matter what it is, I have decided to raise it. Please help me to look at what to do. Yiqingtang was strangely firm. Useless or not, it was still her wolf, and there was no use even if others said anything. She would raise it. Yiqingtang did not notice that her firm words caused that silver wolf's dangerous aura to vanish into thin air immediately as it laid even more securely on the bed. Warden 2 sighed. Honestly speaking, he was in disapproval of Xinling's sect disciples raising such an ordinary wolf as a combat pet. Combat pets had to be raised carefully for them to turn out well and strong, and most of them were raised from young. However, not only did Yiqingtang pick up a grown wolf on the road, the wolf was such an ordinary breed. This was really whatever. I will help you to take a good look, but I have to inform you first it might not recover immediately given that it has been unconscious for several days. There's even a chance of it being in this state forever. Then, the warden stretched out his hand helplessly wanting to properly examine the wolf's condition. But just when Warden 2 was about to touch it, its tightly shut eyes suddenly opened. A pair of dark green orbs directly met with Warden 2's casual eyes. This look almost scared Warden 2 to death. Why did this wolf suddenly wake up? Yiqingtang saw that the silver wolf was suddenly awake, and a smile immediately broke out on her face. In her happiness, she instinctively wanted to stretch out her hands to touch the wolf's fur, but she was suddenly met with those dark green orbs. Wolves were extremely defensive animals and very aggressive. While Yiqingtang hugged this wolf for many days, it had always been sleeping. Right now, she was still a stranger to it. Chapter 189. Yiqingtang was going to retract her hands, but suddenly realized that the wolf only cast her an aloof look before looking away as though it did not plan to resist or attack her. Happiness filled her, and she automatically took the silver wolf's reaction as an acceptance of her. Insatiably, she reached her hands out and rubbed the fluffy wolf fur. Yeah, comfortable. The silver wolf froze slightly but did not resist at all, and Yiqingtang caressed it even more brazenly. Warden 2's lips twitched. He just said that the wolf would never wake up, but then it woke up? His face was completely gone. Since it is awake, there should not be any big problems already. Warden 2 was obviously not too attentive to this useless wolf, but Yiqingtang said very seriously, but it slept for so long, could it have any internal injuries? Warden 2 replied casually, perhaps. However, there shouldn't be any big problems. If you're worried, you can massage it with spirit energy. Anyways, this will only benefit and not harm it. Although Warden 2 said that, he still felt that Yiqingtang was crazy. Otherwise, why would she use such precious spirit energy to massage a useless wolf? However, Yiqingtang remembered his words clearly. Warden 2 saw that there was nothing much and left after saying a few words insincerely. After walking Warden 2 out, Yiqingtang walked back to her bed and smiled extremely brightly as she looked at the seductive and handsome wolf. A pair of small hands had already unconsciously started directing her inner chi as they touched the wolf's body. A certain wolf's body completely froze, but Yiqingtang grinned. Little baby, don't be afraid, I'll give you a good massage. Don't worry, Will be very gentle. A certain wolf froze for a while and ultimately turned its head around. Let her be then. Once Su Wan returned to the room, she saw Yi Qingtang smiling extremely evilly while touching a silver wolf all over. She was slightly shocked, but she subsequently remembered what Yun Shu told her to pass on to Yi Qingtang. However, at this instant, Su Wan narrowed her eyes into a slit and looked away without telling Yi Qingtang anything, as though she did not know anything. She would definitely not let senior brother Yun and Yi Qingtang have anything going on between them. At the same time, the file that the Rewards Pavilion Warden sent to the Outer Sect Elder had already reached the hands of the Outer Sect Elder. Elder Huang was the elder of the Outer Sect's sword faction and was also the one who introduced the sect rules to the disciples. As he read the file that was sent over by the Rewards Pavilion, his brows were slightly furrowed. An Outer Sect sword faction disciple standing beside him obediently handed him a cup of tea. "Does Elder have any troubling matters?" the disciple asked. Elder Huang said, "Zhou Xian, have you heard of a disciple called Yi Qingtang in the Outer Sect?" When Zhou Xian suddenly heard the words Yi Qingtang, his eyes sharpened, but he hid his emotions away skillfully and replied calmly, "I did hear of her previously. I think she is a new disciple." Elder Huang nodded and placed the file aside. "When this disciple first entered the Outer Sect, I didn't expect her to have such skills." Zhou Xian was confused but did not dare to probe. Elder Huang did not say anything more and ordered someone to deliver the file back. Then, he spoke to Zhou Xian again. "Zhou Xian, how is your brother Zhou Chu's injury?" Chapter 190. Thank you for your concern, Elder. He is already fine, Zhou Xian said calmly, but a sharp look flashed across his eyes. Elder Huang did not notice Zhou Xian's expression and merely nodded his head. "Although you and Zhou Chu are brothers, your brother's natural talent is far from yours. You need to focus on cultivation instead and not let down this gift of yours." "Yes," Zhou Xian replied. "There is nothing here already. You can go down first," Elder Huang said and waved a hand. Zhou Xian left and directly headed to Zhou Chu's room. Zhou Chu was already much better now and was chatting with a group of disciples. When he saw Zhou Xian, his face turned white, dispersed the group immediately, and then went up to him carefully. "Big brother, you're here?" Zhou Xian frowned slightly. He was very unhappy to see Zhou Chu's cowardly behavior, but could only bear with it because he was his brother. "Who did you say was the person who injured you?" Half a month ago, he suddenly heard that his brother, Zhou Chu, was severely beaten up by someone, and he had to lie in bed for a week because of this injury. Although Zhou Chu was not skilled, he was still his brother. Who did not know about his relationship with Zhou Chu in the Outer Sect? Even though Zhou Chu took advantage of Zhou Xian's influence, no one dared to go against Zhou Xian, and anyone would still give Zhou Chu some face. But this time when Zhou Chu was beaten up, Zhou Xian completely lost face. Zhou Chu felt wronged immediately when he heard the question. "Big brother, you must seek revenge for me. It was all done by Yi Qingtang, that little bitch. She is a new disciple, but dared to injure me." Shut up." Zhou Xian's face turned cold and glared at Zhou Chu until he kept quiet. "That Yi Qingtang is only a new disciple. You have been in the Outer Sect for many years and barely obtained the 1000th rank, but you can't even beat a newly entered disciple. How do you have the face to say it?" Zhou Chu completely lost his face because of Zhou Xian's scolding but did not dare to resist as well. Thus, he could only lower his head timidly without making a noise. Zhou Xian looked at his brother's good-for-nothing behavior and was boiling with anger. "I'll remember this incident. I want to look for Yi Qingtang when you told me about it the other time." However, she was out on a mission and was not in the sect. "Perhaps she is back now already. You better behave yourself during this period of time and stop going around to embarrass me." Zhou Xian warned Zhou Chu with a glare. Happiness filled his heart when Zhou Chu heard his brother's words. Zhou Xian was way more skilled than him, and if Zhou Xian was willing to take action, Yi Qingtang would definitely not be able to fight back regardless of her abilities. "Thank you, big brother." I will definitely listen to you on every matter. Right, big brother? These are the bottles of she spirit pills that I got from this batch of new disciples. Zhou Xin looked over and kept them naturally. He asked with a slight frown, why are there only these few bottles this time? Not only did Zhou Xian know about Zhou Chu's arena, he silently consented to it as well. Every time, a portion of the she spirit pills that Zhou Chu obtained would be pocketed by Zhou Xian, who was more than happy to do so. Zhou Chu replied, it's all Yi Qingtang, who used some tricks and cheated a few bottles of she spirit pills from me. Oh. Zhou Xian raised a brow, and his lips formed a sneer. Yi Qingtang, you're good. You just entered the sect, yet you are so disobedient already. Previously, Senior Brother Ning from the inner sect already ordered me to take good care of her. Now, not only did she injure you, she even dares to snatch my she spirit pills? I will definitely settle all these new and old scores with her. Chapter 191. Senior Brother Ning also knows Yi Qingtang? Zhou Chu's eyes brightened when he heard the words, Senior Brother Ning. This Senior Brother Ning, Ning Luo, was a renowned disciple in the inner sect and doted on by the elder of the inner sect sword faction. Even in the entire Xinling sect, he was a person of rank. He did not expect that Yi Qingtang even offended Ning Luo as well. Zhou Chu really wanted to laugh now. You don't need to ask about other matters. Zhou Xian did not intend to tell Zhou Chu too many things. Zhou Chu did not dare to ask further. While they were brothers, he was actually fearful of Zhou Xian deep down. Zhou Xian left after understanding the situation and planned on how to fulfill Ning Luo's orders and seek revenge for Zhou Chu. He was an old disciple in Xinling sect already and was aware that stirring up troubles the way Zhou Chu had been doing was a foolish method. Even though Zhou Chu was beaten up by Yi Qingtang, the incident was started by him, and Yi Qingtang would not be punished. The only way to deal with Yi Qingtang was to be outside the sect. Zhou Xian narrowed his eyes and immediately headed to find the outer sect warden. On the other side, Yi Qingtang massaged the silver wolf from head to toe and left the room happily under the wolf's stare after cheerfully preparing a large amount of food. With few hundreds of shimming points on hand, she would be a fool if she did not use them. The key was that Yi Qingtang knew how to make full use of the shimming points. A few disciples in the same batch as Yi Qingtang were still familiarizing themselves with the outer sect. After half a month, they were all more or less familiar with things around here. Most of them had heard that Yi Qingtang was out on a mission and had mixed emotions upon seeing Yi Qingtang back in the sect again. Yi Qingtang is back already? Do you think she completed the mission? Who knows? But I heard that she rode on the coattails of a few outer sect senior brothers to participate in the mission. Even if it was completed, she was also a freeloader. What can she not do when she is born with a good-looking face? Does she still need to put in any effort herself? Wouldn't things be settled if she just used her face to butter up to the senior brothers? What's the use of being pretty? Do you think they are fools? If she did not help out, who would give her shimming points? That's logical. However, wasn't Yi Qingtang always like this? She kept cozying up to Yun Shu previously and seduced other outer sect senior brothers now. It's disgusting to even look at it. Does she think she would succeed in the outer sect by relying on these relations? Don't care about her. Anyways, we have all been training hard in these few weeks. Even if she gets those random deals, she will have it good when she has to use her real skills. In another half a month's time, we will have entered the sect for a month already and would need to accept the appointed missions by the sect. Let's see what she is going to do then. A few new disciples were gathered to discuss some things. It was not that they had a deep enmity towards Yi Qingtang, but rather because Yi Qingtang was the first to participate in a rewarded mission in their batch. Given her unique case, it was undoubted that it would attract gossips. Some people were always like that. When others did something that they were unable to do, they would always be full of slander and never reflected on themselves. Little did they know that the defamed Yi Qingtang from their mouths was headed towards the largest trading place, the Dragon Court. The Dragon Court was an area drawn out by the outer sect and specially provided to outer sect disciples to make deals. Any disciple could sell valuable items here, and if there was anything that one needed, he or she would only need to exchange the item using the corresponding amount of shimming points. Here, the most popular items were parts of demonic beasts that the disciples conveniently picked up when on missions. Other than that, there were also some elixirs made by the herbal faction's disciples. Chapter 192. Although it was in the afternoon, the Dragon Court was already bustling with activity. In the Dragon Court that had been independently drawn out, pieces of cloth were laid on the floor, and items to be sold were placed on them, forming a simple stall. Many disciples would come here to earn some shimming points. After all, shimming points were precious to anyone. Yiqingtang entered the Dragon Court and was attracted by the bustling scene. In her previous life, she visited the Dragon Court many times as well, but then, she did not have enough shimming points to use in the Dragon Court as she was not powerful enough. Even if she occasionally saw things she liked, she could only walk away quietly. Then, the only reason she came to the Dragon Court was to sell the items she obtained when she was out on missions. And most of the disciples selling items were like her in her previous life. Those like Gu Yinxiu and Qin Huan would never sell items in the Dragon Court, but they would keep useful goods for themselves. Moreover, they had enough shimming points for their day-to-day spending and would never release good items for sale. Only disciples who had no way of earning shimming points would be here to sell goods. Yiqingtang's eyes swept across her surroundings with emotions different from before. There were still quite a number of treasures in the Dragon Court. All disciples had different targets on their missions, and, thus, there were a wide variety of things they got. As long as one had good judgment, there was no problem in obtaining good things from here. Yiqingtang passed by a few stalls and looked at the items displayed at the stalls. Although they were pretty good, they were not what she needed. In the entire Dragon Court, elixirs refined by the herbal faction disciples were the most popular. In Xinling sect, the number of shimming points required for elixirs was extremely high. Just using the Shi spirit pills that Yiqingtang and the rest just received as an example, normal disciples were most probably unable to earn enough shimming points to exchange for 2 bottles of it. Other elixirs were very pricey as well, and slightly better elixirs were even more expensive. Under such circumstances, the use of the herbal faction disciples was revealed. There were a total of 4 factions in Xinling sect, and the main faction was the sword faction. All the disciples needed to cultivate swordplay, and not everyone could be involved in the other 3 factions. Approval from each faction's elder would be needed for them to step into other factions. Thus, to obtain cheaper elixirs, they could only buy them from the herbal faction disciples. On the other hand, herbal faction disciples were happy to take these elixirs that they cultivated out to sell. After all, they refined elixirs on usual days, and the number of elixirs they accumulated was not a small one. However, these outer sect herbal faction disciples' refinement skills were not high. It was simply impossible for elixirs made by them to have the best effects, and they could only be considered a half-completed product at best. But even such half-completed products were way better than those elixirs circulating outside the sect, and thus were well received by other disciples. Yiqingtang had not walked much in the Dragon Court and already saw many stalls selling elixirs. Disciples with a herbal faction badge in front of their chests had already set displaying the elixirs and were waiting for business. However, Yiqingtang was not too interested in these elixirs and walked past those herbal faction disciples' stalls after taking a quick glance. Right after, she saw a lonely figure kneeling at one side as he looked at the pile of junk displayed before him with a distressed look on his face. You're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.